Welcome into this week's Degrees of Science. Exoplanets have been in the news a lot here over the last few months, and we've got an expert to talk to us this week, Dr. Aurora Kesseli, who works with NASA and studies exoplanets and learns more about them. So, Aurora, thanks for joining us. First off, for people that may not know, since they're popping up in the news a lot, what exactly are exoplanets?
Yeah, great question. So exoplanets are just any planet that does not orbit our sun. So in our solar system, we have 8 planets. They all orbit the sun. And when you look up at the night sky, there's going to be tons of other stars up there. And any planets that orbit those stars are exoplanets.
Okay, so we've talked with a planet hunter before, Dr. Christensen, and there's been the Kepler mission a while back, but the new TESS mission, what all goes on with that, and how do y'all use that to discover these planets?
Yeah, so the TESS mission is the current exoplanet finding mission that's up in the sky right now. It's a NASA mission, and it's a satellite that was launched in 2018, and it's kind of the next step after Kepler. So Kepler was our first exoplanet finding mission, and it just stared at one point in the sky and looked for planets in that little small area of space. And the difference with TESS is we now want to find the closest exoplanets to us, so the exoplanets that are orbiting the closest stars. And so instead of staring at one little small space of sky, TESS is looking for planets around the entire night sky. So everywhere there's a star, TESS is going to look to see if there's a planet there.
Tell us about the discovery of the forbidden planet that was found.
Yeah, so this is a really interesting new discovery. So all stars are not like the sun. Stars actually range in size, and the most common type of star is actually much smaller than the sun. So anywhere between 10% the size of the sun and 50% the size of the sun. And these small stars are called red dwarf stars. And the forbidden planet orbits one of these small red dwarf stars, but the planet is actually really big. It's bigger than Jupiter, just slightly bigger than Jupiter. So the star is really small, but the planet is really big. And our current theories for how planets form said that this really shouldn't happen very often. And when we look around most red dwarf stars, we do see much smaller planets. And this is kind of the enigma, the forbidden planet, because it's really big and around a really small star, which is hard to do.
So you were talking about how planets are formed. So for people, and I've learned some on this as well, how exactly in the beginning phases of stars and all that, how do the planets form around those stars?
Yeah, so stars and planets kind of form at the same time. So stars form from gas and dust that's kind of floating around, and it's clumped up in dense little areas. And when a star starts to collapse, the gas and the dust start spinning and heating up, and the central region will become the star, and any gas and dust in the surrounding region will kind of form a disk that the planets will form out of. And so smaller stars we see usually have smaller disks, and the planets are going to form out of all of the material in this disk. So dust grains and pebbles start sticking to each other and eventually form the planets. And so there's just less material around these small stars to form planets out of. And so it's hard to make really big planets in small disks around small stars.
So has there been any on the research side, or is it just too early, of why exactly this planet is able to be around this smaller star?
That's a great question, and that's definitely the next step. So in this paper that just came out, the authors presented the planet and said, we confirmed it's here. We checked all these different things, and it's definitely there. And so the next steps are try to figure out what happened and why this small star was able to form such a big planet.
How cool is it for you to be kind of the building blocks or first baby steps of a really cool new field that's we're going to be hearing a lot about here over the next several decades?
Yeah, I feel really lucky. It's amazing. I mean, exoplanets were discovered after I was born. The first exoplanet was 1995. Now we have more than 5,000 planets. And I feel like the last 20 years was discovering exoplanets. So we didn't know if any existed. We found them. We now know that they exist and that they're plentiful. And I think we're just at the very start of the next age of exoplanet science, which is characterizing them, trying to figure out what they're made of and what different conditions on different planets look like. So I feel super lucky that I get to be working in this field kind of at the forefront of this science. So yeah, it's a really exciting time.
So one of the cool things we like to talk with folks like you when we do this is the passion you have in it. And I know you're big on pushing the STEM style related stuff to other girls as well. And what's cool is the two exoplanet experts I've talked with, both women. So it's really cool to see that side of it. How important for you is it to reach out to smaller, kids and let them know about the cool work that can be done in STEM related fields?
Yeah, I think thanks so much for asking about this. It's something that I definitely am passionate about. And, as a scientist, oftentimes people think that we're just kind of sitting around and doing our own research. But one of the most important things I think about doing science is getting it out to the public. We're publicly funded, NASA's publicly funded with tax dollars, and we need to be making that science accessible and reaching as many people as possible. And I'm especially interested in trying to reach different groups of people who aren't traditionally represented in science. So having more girls in science. I know when I was a physics major in college, I think there was only two of us women physics majors. And so just having more people in the field is always, it just helps representation and getting more people excited about science.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you taking the time to talk with us. It's really cool. And like I said, cool that, we're talking really about two planets that have really got the news, but this is just the tip of the iceberg of the cool stuff that y'all should be coming out with here for a while.
Yes, definitely. Stay tuned. I think JWST is going to have lots of more splashy headlines soon.
Awesome. Well, thank you for taking some time to talk with us.
Thank you.